All right, going live on a Tuesday. One of these days I'm going to get my regular live schedule back in order when I'm not getting sick or not having this or that. But until that time, I'm fitting in these lives whenever I can for y'all. I'm joined today by Drew England. Drew, how are you today?
Man, I'm great. Little snow in Oklahoma, but
Is
doesn't
it
hurt anything.
snowing?
Yeah, a little bit. It's not really sticking much here in Tulsa. I know Oklahoma City and the western side of the state got a little more, but we're just above freezing, so I think we'll be okay. So it's just a little cold.
It's supposed to snow here tonight, and I just anytime it snows in North Texas, everybody loses their
Yep.
collective mind. I
Stay out
mean,
of the
it
way of the
is.
semis, right?
Oh my gosh, it is just wild. Man, before we get rolling, as always, let the people know where they can find you, what content they have to look forward to coming up. Just give them a general rundown of what you do.
Yeah. We are the Under Official Review podcast. Myself, Zach Merrill. We talk all things college football. We're actually throwing in some NFL content now that the playoffs are here, stuff like that. We just had a show the other night, just recapping all the divisional games. This week we're going to hit on the conference championships, the NFC AFC matchups, stuff like that. We'll talk some, quarterback, all that fun stuff. But we talk college football all across the board. I know I'm an Oklahoma fan. He's an Ohio State fan. We touch on a lot of our school stuff, but for the most part, we keep it across the board, and we have fun doing it. So you guys can find us on Twitter and all the social medias. Just search the Under Official Review podcast and find us. We would love for your subscription, for likes, comments, anything you want to hear too. We're open to everything. And if you even want to jump on one of these times, we love to have guests. So
Absolutely. It's always a great time. And as you can see, Brock, Keaton, Dean, Hank, thank y'all for being here. Thank you for tuning into the stream. And everybody on the stream is talking about our first topic. This is what happens in live. You
oh yeah.
merge words and you can't correct it.
Well, they
But
just know you too well.
they know me. They
Yeah.
know me exactly. Bill O'Brien is out as the Alabama offensive coordinator, making a return to the NFL as the Patriots offensive coordinator. Now, I think a lot of people have expected this for quite some time. The cards looked like they were there, but interesting to note, man, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator incoming to Tuscaloosa, and the fans want to know who it could be. I broke this down today, talked about some of the names that have been out there. We're going to really dive deep into one of the names at the end because it's a perfect segue, aka Jeff Lebby. Gets us into
Mm.
some Oklahoma content, but I'll go ahead and kind of spoil that before we get into it. I don't find that one to be likely. I think Jeff Lebby is going to stay at Oklahoma, but we'll dive deeper into that one because it's a beautiful segue into further topics. But outside of Lebby, you have Mullen, you have Joe Brady that's been tossed around. There are just some different names you hear. Drew, first off, I want to hear outside looking in, what are your thoughts with Bill O'Brien not being there? And then who do you think is someone who moves the needle?
We've talked at this, off the air, stuff like that. We've talked about Bill O'Brien and what your thoughts were. My thoughts. Hey, listen. First and foremost, he knows how to coach offense.
Oh, yeah.
He's done a great job with quarterbacks, but I think where he's done it the best is in the NFL. He fits that
100%.
mold, and that's not saying anything, but it was great to come down, show people that you can coach and mentor quarterbacks and stuff like that. But I think where he finds and where his wheelhouse is not only NFL but the New England Patriots and right back with Bill Belichick. I think that they missed that the last couple of years, and I think for him to go back, reunite with Mac Jones, and then knows how Bill Belichick and everything operates there, I think is a win-win. For Alabama, I think they were ready to kind of move on with something new flavor, something like that. You've got a new quarterback coming in. It's a good time to transition. So I think for both, I think it's a win-win. Now, who they go get, um, I know some of the names that you have already talked about. Jeff Lebby's a name that has been thrown out there. I'm with you. I think he still stays um, at
Sorry. I don't
at
know what I
Oklahoma.
hit right there, but that was
All
weird.
good. I still think he stays at Oklahoma, and but Joe Brady is a name that I like, and I think the knock on him, well, the knock that people say is he doesn't want to recruit. He doesn't like the recruiting side of things. Well, at a place like Alabama, it kind of recruits itself, and you've got a guy in Nick Saban that is very good at that job. So I think it could be a perfect fit for him to come in and be able to just coach ball, be able to develop quarterbacks, be able to use his system, just like you've seen at LSU, stuff like that. So I think that would be a great fit. Other names are obviously out there too, but I think Jeff Lebby and Joe Burrow, no, Joe Brady would be the two names that kind of stand out to me. But I would make Joe Brady tell me no and tell me no several times.
I'm in the same camp. Absolutely. You lose nothing by extending the offer. And I
Yep.
have no doubt that those at Alabama, they've extended the offer to everybody they deem acceptable. And this is something I talked about today. Whenever I talked about Pete Golding going from Nino in here, guys, Nino Corner Sports makes excellent Texas content
Yeah.
in here a lot as a guest. Always a great time. If you
Well, I
haven't
hate to
already,
say it, and I don't want to ever talk good about Texas, but if there's Texas fans out there, Nino is the spot, man.
well, even
He's
for
great.
Oklahoma fans, you need
Oh
to
yeah,
know your opponent
big
and
time.
you need someone to give you an
Yep.
objective look at your
Great,
opponent.
great stuff. Yep.
Great content from Nino. I still reference a video of his that he did 2 years ago to this day, religiously, on the Alabama or on the Texas offensive line recruiting and how it has impacted them.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Now here is what I do think. Right, I agree with Joe Brady. Love that. I think that'd be a slam dunk. And you're right. There is always this talk whenever Joe Brady comes up, whether it's true or not. I really don't know, but you hear it enough to where got to come from somewhere. You would imagine that he's not big on the recruiting side of this. You're right, man. Bama is one of those places that kind of recruits itself. Now, Jay, who's not in here this evening, he asked me today, do you not think Nick Saban's going to make him work? That's a fair point. We know how Saban is. If Saban's going to be on the trail, he expects everyone else to be. But I guess my question is, if Brady's offense came in and worked, wouldn't that recruit itself, right? Like that in and of itself would be a powerful recruiting tool. The other point I'll make before I throw it back to you is whenever Pete Golding left for Ole Miss, I had a lot of people in the comments saying, I trust whoever Saban hires. And then people would reply saying, oh, but he hired Golding. He hired Bob. Sure, he did. But what is he batting? Like the man's batting average is unbelievable. So sure.
Yeah. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
And
maybe those
if
two.
that's going to be the worst hires you make, that's pretty dang good.
That's pretty darn good. So I do absolutely trust in Saban. Keaton says, Garrett Riley would have been an insane hire for y'all? Yes, he would have. Schwartz asks, what about Kingsbury?
That's another name, yeah.
Now, Drew, correct me if I'm wrong here. You're much more versed in the NFL than I. He seems to be on a bit of a sabbatical in Thailand.
He is. Bought a one-way ticket to Thailand. Don't know his return date, or maybe there's a new football league over there that we don't know about yet. But as far as I know, he's kind of taking a break, and he should, man. Because if you really think about it, and I don't want to dive too far into Cliff Kingsbury, but you get fired at Texas Tech, you don't really have time to kind of settle or think about anything. You go to USC for like a week, and then bam, Arizona offers you the head coaching job, and boom, you're right up in it, and you don't have time to really. So I think for him, he just needs a break. He needs a reset. I don't think he's going to actually be anywhere this year. I think he's going to have some time, to kind of reset. I could be wrong, but he needs. I think he needs a break. I think with coaches, I think often with the where we're at, even in the NFL and especially in college, there's no days off because of the recruiting cycle, the transfer portal. Now it just resets itself, and it's just a never-ending battle. These guys, you say these guys get paid a lot. Yes, they do, but for me, balancing that time with family and kids, all that stuff, and then trying to do your job, it's hard. It's hard on families. It's hard on a lot of people out there. And for Cliff, I think he just needs a break, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I don't know about Joseph House Money. That's not.
Here's a name to think about, and this is just something off the dome. Me and Zach were actually talking about this today. What about a guy like Byron Leftwich?
I did see something about that. That's an interesting one.
This is just me. I'm not saying that Bama, but that's a name to. I mean, who would not want to go out and at least talk to him?
There's no inside information being discussed right here. We're
Yeah.
we're
No.
fans.
This is just
Alpha has a great one right here. Brian Johnson with the
yep.
Eagles. That one would be great. Alpha, completely agree with you there.
Yep.
I like it. I do. I like it a lot. Schwartz says Saban will get whoever he wants at the end of the day. You're probably right. I mean, look, the offer to come to Alabama, if you're not currently a head coach, you realize the stepping stool that typically occurs for coordinators after you leave the
Hey
Crimson
Nick,
Tide.
if you're watching, I'm available. I can send you my resume. So
Yeah.
I'll wear a Crimson Tide hat. I'm not scared.
That's not, the shade of crimson isn't that different.
Yeah.
When Saban hires Kirby, I think they do hold him accountable, but it's just the same that we can see a pattern of things not working. People do hold Saban accountable, but when I turn on the film and I directly see that the offensive formations being called aren't working and we're running a 1-4-6, who's calling the plays?
Right.
You're not wrong. You're certainly not wrong, Kirby. But I think you kind of understand where I'm saying. Like there is a easy. We're not looking at a situation where we're looking at somebody and we're doctors and we're trying to figure out what's wrong with this individual. We're looking at a situation and they have a giant thorn sticking out of their arm, and it's very easy to identify you have a splinter instead of trying to diagnose.
What's the best way to get that splinter out?
Yes. Yep. Yes. You're not wrong. At some level, it does fall on Saban, Kirby, and I certainly don't want it to seem like that has been lost on me. At the end of the day, whenever you have a team like this Alabama team that had 17 penalties and had as many penalties, that's coaching, and that's on coaching. That's no doubt about that. Yeah, no argument here. But I think the truth is in the middle right there.
So switching gears a little bit, talking about the defensive coordinator side, what's the latest on? And this is something we talked about too. A guy like Jeremy Pruitt. Do we know if he's got the clause, if it's lifted, or if it's not, or if it's something that Saban would entertain bringing Jeremy Pruitt back in the fold?
If he's cleared, I think so. Like I said, guys, once the news came out that it was Chick-fil-A bags, we're dealing with just a different class here. It's not the McDonald's bags.
Yeah.
It's Chick-fil-A bags. This is a classy,
you don't see the grease,
a classy establishment. But in seriousness, if he's cleared, he has an understanding of how to work with Nick Saban. He has an understanding of the Crimson Tide. He has an understanding of the players. I think that's a great one. Schumann would be a great one. Leonard would be a great one.
It's just like Bill O'Brien going back to New England. I mean, he knows how it operates. He was there when it was a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, completely agree, Kirby. And look, I hate to make this about Georgia, but this is why I think Jeremy Pruitt is a great hire. Who's Georgia's defensive coordinator? It's Muschamp.
Yep.
Right? Like, not only do you have a guru in Kirby, you got a guru right behind him.
Yeah.
And I'm certainly not saying that's the only reason.
Imagine those defensive meetings, man.
Goodness gracious. So
I would love to be in that room.
That's why I lean that direction.
Yep.
That's just me.
If I'm an Alabama fan, I'm jumping at the opportunity to get Jeremy Pruitt back on defense.
I don't think this one's going to happen, Infidel. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think that would happen. It'd be interesting, but I don't think it would. I don't think it would. Now, I do kind of want to go back, talk about Levy, right? Because this is a great segue into Oklahoma. The Alabama position coaches, this is something we're going to have to watch moving forward. But I think at the end of the day, as an Alabama fan, I like moving in a different direction. I absolutely do. Kirby says Muschamp and Kirby are arguably two of the best defensive mind, is a protege of both of them.
Yep, no doubt.
No arguments. None.
Yeah, none here.
And that's it.
Right.
That's exactly why, Kirby, Jeremy Pruitt to me is so tempting.
Well, and if you look at a guy like Dan Lanning as well, Dan Lanning is doing what he's doing at Oregon because of the tutelage that he was under.
True. Good point.
So
good point.
Dan Lanning is another guy, and Schumann's going to fall right into that line.
That's a great point you made.
Yeah.
because we haven't really given Dan Lanning the due respect, and by extension, and I know Kirby's not the one coaching, but Kirby helped Dan Lanning become the coach he is. We look at guys such as Cristobal and say, "Oh, Saban helped him." Man, oh man, Kirby,
Kirby's
what a way to
his
start.
tree going. Yep.
Yeah, what a way to start the Kirby
Yep.
tree with Dan Lanning. And I get it. He spent time at Bama, but he was the defensive coordinator for Georgia, right? A great tree, great way to start that. But a few more comments, and then we'll head to the OU Jeff Lebedy conversation. Nicole says Joe Brady ? That'd be an amazing hire, Nicole. Bama fans everywhere would lose their minds. House money, we've been preaching the OU is as good as any school in the country. Coming on the heels of the comment, if Lebby leaves, OU will lose credibility for decades to come. And finally, Tim says, from what I've heard, Pruitt is Saban's guy. They're just trying to get the clause where Pruitt can't come back till, and that would make sense. This would make sense as to why we've heard nothing, because they're working in the background.
We're kind of doing crossing T's and dotting I's. Yeah,
exactly.
That'd
make a lot of sense.
I seen a comment in the Cale Gundy. I'm not leave it alone. Like, it's done. It's over. Somebody said Cale Gundy is for OC. I'd love it, but it's just time to move on from that one.
Yeah, probably not likely. But Lebby and OU, perfect time as PG comes in. Look, I've said this. I don't think Lebby is leaving. Bama is gauging interest from multiple different targets, and Lebby was probably one of them. Lebby played for OU. I don't think he's going to be inclined to leave OU after 1 year. Now, if we were 2 or 3 years into this and we're still trying to figure things out at OU, yeah, I can see Lebby looking at the situation and being like, okay, we've been trying this for 3 years. Let's move on. But it's after year number 1. Yep. Gabriel's coming back. I just don't see it. But that being said, in fairness, it is Alabama and it is Nick Saban.
Yeah.
So, but I don't see it. I'll pass the floor to the OU fans.
Yeah. Well, the thing with Jeff Lebby is he's already taken those steps up. He's been a position coach, been a running back coach, been a O-line coach, stuff like that. Been at OC at a couple places. I use that term OC loosely, but his next step, he wants to be a head coach. And I don't think, and it's not necessarily, and I don't mean this to a slight at any Alabama fans or anything like that, but it's essentially a lateral move. Yeah, you're going to a powerhouse school as well. But for him, in his sense, his thinking is probably going to a head coaching job. He wants to make OU's offense good. He's got Jackson Arnold coming in. He's got Dylan Gabriel 1 more year, things like that. He wants to make that the best he can do it and show that he can develop an offense, develop players, stuff like that, so that he can go become a head coach. And I think that's his next move. I don't think it would benefit him maybe, but I think with him coming back to Oklahoma for the reasons that you just said, alma mater, Brent Venables went out and sought him out. And I think that, his next move will be a head coach if it all works out. So that's just my thoughts. And PG, you may have some more. You may have different thoughts.
PG, before you go, I want to slide in here just for one comment. Ontario says, Georgia fans, don't y'all have a network y'all can go to? Ontario, they are more than welcome right here. This is for all college football fans, and we're just fans talking college football. So bring all of them, whether they're Georgia, Auburn, D2, it does not matter. This is a place for college football fans. So PG, go for it.
Yeah, Lebby's not leaving Oklahoma. I literally just got done talking to a player a little bit ago, and they were like, "That's not happening." So if they're saying it, they probably know something that we don't. And I was looking at the preliminary hot board of offensive coordinators that Alabama could be going after. Honestly, I think there are better options out there, specifically with Joe Brady as the Buffalo Bills quarterback coach, because Joe Brady can develop quarterbacks at a high level, and Alabama gets high-level quarterbacks every single year. So why would you not want a guy like that, or even like a Derek Dooley, the Alabama offensive analyst? Like, you could just promote from within. Like, that's what makes sense to me. I don't see Jeff Lebby taking this role. Yeah, Joe Cox, Cliff Kingsbury. Again, you could see him bring in Cliff Kingsbury later on down the road as an analyst.
It'll have to be
maybe
next year.
Yeah.
I'll just say
And, maybe he could be the offensive coordinator at some point. You've got Jeff Scott, who I don't know if he
that
took.
right there, man. That would be
that's
a
a name.
great hire.
That's a
Yeah,
name.
Jeff
I was
Scott
gonna
is a
say
really
that
good
earlier.
recruiter.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, Jeff Scott's a really good recruiter. I don't
Here's
know if
here's
Clemson
another
brought him
name.
back.
Here's a name, and don't laugh. Chad Morris. As an offensive coordinator. He knows how
That
to
wouldn't
coach
be up,
Yeah.
with some of the other ones.
It's
but
just a
certainly.
name that other schools, not necessarily Alabama, but the guy can coach offense. I think he was just in over his head at Arkansas as a head coach.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think Jeff Scott would be a great option.
Scott is a great one.
I even talked to you guys about it. I don't know if you remember. I talked about Oklahoma potentially trying to bring in. I said Oklahoma should bring in Jeff Scott as an analyst.
I was with you.
Backdoor him and keep him as like one recruiter
Completely
for now,
agree.
and then
just because
and then
of
bring
his
him in later as
ability
an
to
offensive
recruit, man.
coordinator.
The dude can recruit. He's almost up there with Brian Hartline as far as receiver talent that he's recruited over the years. I mean, you're talking Sammy Watkins, you're talking, D Hop, all those guys that he recruited to Clemson. Talent, man. He knows how to.
Yeah,
go
but
get
I'll
it.
say this: I don't remember, and somebody might need to correct me on this. I don't know if he took a job at Clemson because I think he went back to Clemson.
He did.
Yeah. So that would be the only thing is he went back to Clemson, so he's another job again. He might not want to leave what Garrett Riley and that offense are going to do out there.
And Austin just said it. He's the I was going to say he's the special assistant to the head coach.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, there's a lot of great options out there outside of Levy for Alabama offensive coordinator. And honestly, if you're Nick Saban, take your time.
Yeah.
Because you've got the room to make time and wait. Because I mean, I don't feel like what you guys are going to come in. I don't feel like the offensive coordinator year one is going to come in and do something just extremely hard for the players to learn. I feel like they'll come in and give them a little bit of a bone because you got so much talent. You can almost out talent everybody you play.
And you're seeing other schools kind of go back to the. You're seeing other schools go back to the well too. Like Arkansas hired Dan Enos like with a snap of the finger as soon as Kendall Briles left. And he was at.
That's one we're going to have to talk about today as well.
Yeah. So
there's very few home run hires out there.
Yep. You're seeing guys go back to schools that they were at. Obviously, we talked about Bill O'Brien go back to New England, stuff like that. Yeah, guys can be recycled, certainly.
Now, talking about Oklahoma, I have this thought, MPG. We were talking about it in the green room before, and kind of putting you on the spot. But you know how this is. We don't send information before this, anyways. Everything's on the spot. So what's the difference?
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma's best additions / next step. So, who's your under the radar pick? We'll answer this before we go. Who's your under the radar pick for Bama's offensive coordinator, Joe Cox? If I said one to shock you, Joe Cox. Do I think it's likely? Not necessarily. I'll let y'all go. I just loved this comment. I thought it was a really cool one, and then we'll continue on. Drew, MPG.
With this question here?
Yeah.
Shocking and under the radar, Byron Leftwich.
That's a good one. PG?
I mean, I really like Phil Longo, but I think he took another job somewhere else in North Carolina.
Is it Wisconsin?
Yeah, he's Wisconsin. But, I mean, hey, he goes to Alabama, and then all of a sudden there's going to be a lot of hype around maybe a specific quarterback going to Alabama. So
I'm here for that.
Yeah, that'd be wild. That would be wild. But going to the Oklahoma future now, I'm interested, man. I do want to hear from you, PG. We were talking about this before. I want to know who you think is the best addition Oklahoma got in terms of recruiting or the transfer portal. That's completely up to you. You have the agency to make that decision, and what the steps are you think Oklahoma has to take to make that move up. Now, I'll get us going. It's no secret I love defensive football. That's my favorite side of the ball to watch. I think a guy in your class, like everybody's going to talk about Peyton Bowen, and deservedly so. Absolute freak. This year's safety haul was incredible. Makari Vickers. Mm-hmm. I think that was an amazing addition. Yeah. That's going to be a guy I think people need to keep in their mind. It's just that y'all have a really good safety situation. But I loved the addition of Makari Vickers. You've gotten some good guys in the transfer portal. Obviously. I mean, that goes without saying. McCullough. but I really like the Makari Vickers one. And as far as what y'all need to do, for me, it's consistency. That I think is the biggest thing for Oklahoma is playing within themselves and playing consistently. And that, well, that's easily explainable. Drew, I'll let you talk more about this as a coach, but coming into a situation where not only are you a first-time head coach, but you're taking over a new team. When I watch back the film and I think to myself, consistency is a problem. If I'm listing out problems that's understandable for the Sooners to have, given a first year head coach, someone taking over a team, consistency would be one of the most understandable issues on the docket. Now, not saying all of the issues are that easily fixed, but you get where I'm going with this. What are you thinking as far as what OU needs to do to make that next step? And then who's your big addition that you can't wait to see?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, coaching it like we talked about Alabama and stuff like that. The discipline, the accountability, that's all coming from coaching. And I think another year in the system, you're hopefully going to start weeding those problems out, and you're going to start seeing more consistency now that guys understand the process. They understand what is expected of them, and there's a blueprint now. You understand where you're supposed to be, what time you're supposed to be there, and it's time to strap it on and go to work. And I think you're going to start seeing a lot more consistency in that area all across the board, offensively and defensively. And that's what you hope to see in the second year of a new head coach, is you start seeing some of those growing pains kind of weed themselves out, and you start seeing guys just go out and play football. As far as the big additions and people that I'm excited to see, and I was talking to a friend of mine who's a coach down in Texas, and I heard even Josh Pate say this the other day. Lewis Carter. Lewis Carter was a phenomenal get for us because of his versatility and for the way the dude is just a freaking savage. He goes out, he will hit you. He's got a good frame to add on some more muscle weight. The dude can fly around, make plays. He's the guy I'm most excited about. Obviously, the other names, like you said, Vickers, Bowen, Arnold, those are the easy names. PJ, Atabare. But Lewis Carter, for me, is the one that I'm really, really excited to see where he gets in and where he lies in the fold.
Good one. Real good one. PG, talk to me. What are you thinking?
Yeah, so if we're talking out of the recruiting class, there are two prospects that I really love. The first one is Samuel Omosigo, another linebacker that Oklahoma got, a guy that's extremely athletic, extremely versatile, has great awareness. The dude dedicates himself to football, and that's what you want. You want a guy that's going to be able to come in and dedicate themselves to the game, and so I really like him. I don't know if he's going to be able to make an impact year one because even though he signed his letter of intent, he was not an early enrollee, and so he won't be showing up till the summer. So that's him and Lewis Carter. I don't really expect to see a whole lot, if at all, kind of like what we saw with Kip Lewis and Kobe McKenzie this year. But I also really like Derek LeBlanc, the 6'4", 265-pound defensive lineman out of Kissimmee, Florida. This was a guy that Penn State wanted, Ohio State wanted, Florida wanted, and ultimately it came down to Florida and Penn State and Oklahoma as his top three and his final three. And this is a guy that, has shown that he can be a leader on the defensive side of the ball for us because he took the initiative to go out there and try to recruit David Hicks and some other big-time defensive players, while Jackson Arnold was also trying to be a lead recruiter and also recruit on the offensive side of the ball. And so when I see guys like him doing that, I know that he's going to be special because you're going to need a leader in that locker room. And if he's going to be a true freshman and going to be a leader, I'm here for it. But when you're looking at the transfer portal, we've made a lot of great moves, but I think probably the most important and impactful move that we made in the transfer portal was Walter Rouse and being able to win that over Nebraska.
Good one.
That's a guy that got 39 starts over 40 games. USC really wanted him, potentially could have been out there if, USC would have waived a couple rules. You look at Nebraska, going out there and essentially getting his commitment first, and Oklahoma flipping it. That was big time. And on the left side of the offensive line, I think that was really the biggest concern for the Sooners going into the season. Yeah, you had Caden Green, but you necessarily don't want to start a true freshman at any spot and put that pressure on them with on the football team. So getting a guy like Walter Rouse and Caleb Schaefer, those guys are really going to help solidify that offensive line. And, potentially you're going to see the offensive line be even better this year than it was last year, which is saying a lot because you're going to have a super experienced and talented offensive line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another guy too that in the transfer portal that I liked was wide receiver out of Michigan, Anthony. Great size. Could potentially just come in and make a big impact for us. And then obviously guys that are there that I'm excited to see in year 2 are guys like Gentry Williams and Robert Spears Jennings, and then Nick Anderson and Jaden Gibson on the offense. Guys that are, and then obviously the easy one is Jaron Kanak too. So a lot of things to be excited about. So
don't be biased towards your Tulsa boys. But if we're talking about guys that are on campus that I would like to see, Emeka Megwa is one at the running back position. I think a lot of people have forgotten about him and that he transferred in during the season. That running back room for Oklahoma, this is probably the deepest.
And we didn't even mention Smothers and Caleb Hicks either. So
yeah. This is probably the deepest that it's been in years. You've got Tawi Walker, who every time I talk to a running back, which that's been the room that I've had the most in with, they all talk about Tawi Walker and his leadership and, just being able to bring a lot of experience to that room. So you got Tawi Walker, Javante Barnes, Gavin Sawchuk, Caleb Hicks, Dalen Smothers, Emeka Megwa. That room is stacked, and there's a lot of different directions that OU could go.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to get this one right here. So we got a comment that I think is good by Kirby. He says, who gets to claim Jalen Hurts, Bama or Oklahoma? And I want to start it by referencing Big T, who said, Hurts already said he's a Sooner, and I hate to do this to you. I hate to pull the Lee Corso, but not so fast, my friend. Just a few days ago in an interview when they referred to Jalen Hurts as an Oklahoma quarterback, he was sure to stop the interviewer and say, I'm an Alabama quarterback as well. If Jalen Hurts claims them both, ultimately, that's where the argument stops.
And why have that debate when it's his career and he chose a great path?
No doubt.
And
Oklahoma, no doubt, helped his draft stock.
When
no
people
question.
ask me, I kiddingly say Oklahoma, but it's definitely both.
It's both. That's the correct answer. It's both. Oklahoma gets to claim him. Bama gets to claim him. It's both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's both too. Now he got different, and I think it's both because of, and I think you can put Oklahoma in that conversation because look at how he developed in 1 year at Oklahoma. Had one of the most efficient offenses we've ever seen here at Oklahoma. That didn't just happen at Alabama. So
I love that one. Yeah, I love this.
Sticking with OU. One that an exciting get for us, Emmett Jones, receivers coach.
That was a good one.
Huge.
That was a very big one.
Yep. So that's a transfer for us.
Yeah, that puts Oklahoma in the contention for a lot of wide receivers that maybe we weren't looking at before, and especially in 5-star wide receiver Micah Hudson out of Temple, Texas for the 2024 class. That's not a guy I thought Oklahoma could land, and then all of a sudden they got Emmett Jones, and I started hearing, oh, no, like now this is real. And I was
we're going to have to talk about another wide receiver coach because there's another wide receiver coach that has just entered a conversation that could make it difficult. And that's who Texas just hired. They just got a name, Chris Jackson from the Jaguars, to come in as their wide receiver coach. That's going to shake some things up, but there is no question Emmett Jones was a phenomenal hire. Schwartz says a benched Alabama quarterback. But here's the thing, and Drew, you can attest to this because I think you and I have talked about it. Do y'all know how Jalen Hurts got to Oklahoma? Because that's not where he was going to go.
No, it's
not where he was going to go,
mind you. And I could think back to a similar situation years back that drastically changed a player's course and made him who he was. And I don't think he would have been there if it wasn't for the head coach. But Nick Saban.
That's the reason he was at OU.
Yep. And the reason that Troy Aikman got to UCLA was because of Barry Switzer.
Yeah.
And his career was forever changed because of that. Because he saw somebody, hey, this is where you go. This would be a great fit. Coaches do that more often than you would think, because of just how great of a person Jalen Hurts is. He's
Well,
a
and also
coach's
Saban
son.
recognized it.
Yeah,
Go
and
to OU. That's where
Yep.
they develop quarterbacks. Go.
Yep.
Go there.
There's nothing wrong with that. So I think that it was a great move. And now you've got a guy that is arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL
No
right
doubt.
now. So yeah, kudos to him and his decision, and it's paying off as of right now. So
House Money asks, so OU fans, do we claim Chandler Morris and Spencer Rattler? If Spencer Rattler went to the NFL right now and then told reporters when they said you're a South Carolina quarterback, and he stopped the reporter and said, no, I'm also an OU quarterback, you can bet your bottom dollar OU fans would be claiming him. You can bet your bottom dollar.
Well, I think Oklahoma can claim Spencer Rattler too, because we had the first 3 years with Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, that's fair. And that's fair.
Yeah.
That's completely fair.
It's just like the debate with Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray as well. I mean, there's a bunch of
Oklahoma gets to claim Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, and then Joe Brady, or Joe Burrow was at Ohio State, stuff like that. So it happens where guys transfer.
But I think it's different though, because like we're talking about like a Chandler Morris or a Joe Burrow. I think it's different when the quarterback was not your starting quarterback.
I completely agree, PG. Completely agree. Like you're talking about Rattler played. He sweat for that team. He let Jalen play.
I've got a jersey behind me. Because I still appreciate what he did.
Jimmy brings up a good point too. If you ask Spencer, I don't know. If
he's not going to claim Oklahoma because Oklahoma fans treated him like crap, which I'll happily call OU fans out for that, because y'all don't know how to respect your players or your coaches. Y'all just want to throw them to the curb. But
every
fan base has got that subsect. You know what I mean? Every single fan base.
I don't know too many fan bases that chanted, "We want Caleb."
Well, the Tennessee fans threw a mustard bottle at Lane Kiffin.
Well, they threw it. They didn't verbally.
They threw it. They didn't verbalize.
Yeah, I'd rather have a ketchup bottle. I'd rather have a mustard ball thrown at me than the whole stadium chanting.
And to this comment by the SEC, Texas did not want Spencer Rattler to be playing for Oklahoma this year, because y'all probably would not have won 49-0. That game would have looked a lot different.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that they would have won 49-0.
I
think
prime time.
Probably still would have won.
We forgot about Marcus Major.
Yeah. This is a great
segue. Yeah, I forgot about Marcus Major.
Yeah.
Marcus Major, that's another guy, y'all's running back room. And it's so interesting because just 2 years ago, total opposite. I mean, y'all had an
issue. We didn't have Eric Gray, man. It would have been
an issue. And now look at it. Awesome, the work that has been done. Okay, the SEC says, 49-3. Austin says 49-28.
I would have taken that over a shutout any day.
Yeah, no doubt. Right. What's up, Matt? Thank you for joining in. What's up, man? What's up? But I do want to talk about this because Texas,
sucks.
Texas. Well, we can't say that. You know what I mean?
I did. I said it.
Well, we're above that.
Nino, come on, you got to be a little bit more respectful than that. 49-7 with Rattler. I mean, Rattler can still put up the points in
49-7.
Better 3.
New wide receiver coach at Texas, Chris Jackson, coming from the NFL. I love this, guys. We talk about this all of the time.
Yep.
These high school guys, they get to sit in a room with someone who can look at them in the face and say, "Hey, you want to go to the NFL? I played college ball. I know how to make that transition from high school to college. I then made the transition from college to the NFL and did so quite successfully, mind you, played multiple years.
Absolutely.
Then I coached in the NFL. You want to get there? I got the recipe."
Can't beat
it. That's a salient pitch, right? Like you look at it and you're like, okay, I mean, it is what it is. Bombs, thank you for joining us this evening, my man. One of the original subscribers of the channel. I mean, first 100 seems like. In the house. Grateful for you being here this evening. But great job at Texas. And Trevor, thank you. Thank you very, very much, because you make a great point. It's not just the wide receivers coach, but the transfer, A.D. Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
A.D. Mitchell, big playability written all over him. Sidelined by injury this year, but nonetheless, the Georgia fan base thinks he's got a real high ceiling. I had a bunch of people ask me why he would leave Georgia. The answer there is simple, guys. That Georgia offense spreads the ball around everywhere. He was sidelined for an entire year. The way he's looking at it is he needs to get some film shown to these NFL scouts. It's going to be tough to be the guy at Georgia when there's still McConkey, there's still Bowers. God forbid they get Deuce Robinson. Geez Louise, if they get Deuce Robinson to join in with all those tight ends they have.
Yep.
The point being, I was not surprised to see him exit, and Georgia's offense, the way Monken does it, unbelievable. Now, Drew, talk to me, man. What are you thinking? Because Texas has made some big moves, and this is a big hire.
Nino just hit the nail on the head, and something I was just about to say. He can
100%.
control that room. He understands it. He can manage those guys better than just about anybody. It's the same thing that the DeMarco Murray effect at Oklahoma. Same kind of guy. Coached, played, and developed guys going to the next level. He understands what it takes to get to the next level. He can help you navigate things and agents and all kinds of different stuff and all that. Yeah, and a recruiter at that. Slam dunk, in my opinion. And Texas, it just makes them more sustainable. And moving forward, it was a great hire. So they're going to be vying for a lot of great talent because of Chris Jackson, not only in the state of Texas, but nationwide. So phenomenal hire.
No doubt. PG, what are you thinking, man? Because we just talked about, and no doubt, OU with Emmett Jones. I mean, that guy's a hell of a recruiter. OU's already an institution where I don't think anybody in the nation is surprised if offensive talent goes there. Blue chip guys, 4 or 5-star guys on the offensive side. Now, the current coaching staff trying to change that narrative, get it 5-star talent, period. Yeah. And look at the recruiting class, doing a great job. But Oklahoma gets a great hire in Emmett Jones, and then Texas answers right back. What are you thinking, man?
Well, first off, it's a big loss for the Jaguars because they just had one of the best seasons that they've had.
Yeah, that's a great
while.
Good point.
That's a solid point right there. Yep.
Yeah,
they're developing.
Yep. Yeah, and it's also a big win for Alabama wide receivers coach Holman Wiggins, who had been linked to potentially the job as well. So Nick Saban gets to keep that piece, doesn't lose him. But no, like under Jacksonville, you saw Christian Kirk and Zay Jones have their best years. Kirk finished with just an incredible regular season. Ultimately, they fell to my Chiefs. But I'm curious to see how he can do on the recruiting trail because we've seen him in the NFL for so long. It's a little bit different because in the NFL, the players just come to you. In college football, you actually got to go out there and recruit, get them, develop those relationships. So I'm not necessarily concerned about what he's going to do on the field and what he could do for the players because there's a lot of wide receiver coaches out there that can do exactly what he's doing, but are also really good at building relationships. Brian Hartline being one of them. So I'm not necessarily concerned about what I'm going to see him do on the field for Texas in terms of the development, stabilizing the room. I'm more curious to see how he's going to be able to hit the recruiting trail.
Yep, good point. That's great. Yeah,
that's completely fair. And look, I think that all of his experience is going to be a net positive on the recruiting trail. But simply asking the question, "What will it look like?" because we haven't seen it, is a more than fair question to ask, and there is no question about that. I think Texas is in an interesting position because it's year 3. Right? Year 1, you can drop the ball. I don't care. Any coach in the nation, I say that, but there certainly is an asterisk next to it. Within the realm of reason, if you struggle year 1 as a new coach at an environment, I'm not going to be surprised. I'm not surprised if you excel, but I'm certainly not going to hold it against you year 1 if you don't excel. Year 2 comes around, and it wasn't terrible, but year 3, I mean, I think it's a big year for Steve Sarkisian and the Texas Longhorns.
He's got
a lot of talent.
Yeah.
This is a very talented roster.
Yeah, I think Texas and Steve Sarkisian, he has to go out there and win 10 games this year. 9 games doesn't cut it. I think you need to be 10 or better. You don't necessarily have to go out there and win the conference. You just need to show that you are making steady progress and that you are getting better and that the problems that we've seen with Texas in the past are fixed. And as long as Texas can go out there and do that, I think people will continually say, okay, Texas is back. But we need to see Texas be a consistent program and continue to grow. They've so far they went from 5-7 to what would they go 8-5 this year? So I want to see him. I want to see him win 10+ games next year. If we win 10+ games next year, I say we. If they win 10+ games next year, I think then we can have a real conversation about Texas being back.
Yep,
that's fair.
I think Texas has to get to the Big 12 championship.
Okay.
I really do. I really think they take a lot of pressure.
Hayes?
Yeah, what's up, Hayes?
I know. Guys, show some love for a GOAT in the chat. Hayes is in the building. Great work on all. I have this guy's notifications turned on so that the second he tweets, I get the alert knowing whether or not I need to go run to the room and make content.
He's got 3 for 3 right there with all of us and for notifications on Twitter.
No question about that.
Yeah.
No question.
I think Texas definitely has to get 10+ wins and get to the Big 12 championship because that's the standard that they're reaching for. And I'm not saying he's going to get fired, but I think that that's why you're doing what you're doing. That's why you're Texas. That's why you're recruiting these guys. That's why you bring in a guy like Chris Jackson, stuff like that. I would almost say they have to get to the Big 12 championship.
Well, here's where
I'll say this.
The Big 12. Let me say this real quick, PG, and I'll pass it to you because I really love this comment. He says you don't want to fire. Austin says you don't want to fire Sark while joining the SEC and about to start Arch unless you have a season like 2022, Jimbo. And I think that is fair. With moving to the SEC, it certainly gives Sark more breathing room. The Big 12 championship, that would be a big turnaround for Sark and Texas fans. That'd be awesome for them. Nash Talks Texas, another great Texas content creator. Guys, the Texas fan space on YouTube, it's wild how good the content creators over there are. I mean, you're talking Homer, you're talking Nash, you're talking Nino, you're talking Lando, you're talking Fanatic Perspective. And I know I'm missing some. You have so many great content creators. Guys, go show some love to Nash Talks Texas. Great content all the time, whether you're a Texas fan or not. Good content is good content, and it needs to be recognized. Be sure to go give him a follow. Great stuff. PG, go ahead. I kind of interrupted you there.
No. Yeah, I think we're both interrupting each other, but it's fine. Sark, I think if he wins 8 games or less this year, you're definitely going to see. I mean, he's going to be on the hot seat. I feel like he has to be on the hot seat at that point because you can't pour the money that you're pouring into this program and, again, not expect winning success every year. I mean, Texas's roster is so dang talented. I mean, I've said it. They wasted Bijan Robinson. They wasted that talent. I mean, imagine Bijan Robinson in an Alabama uniform. And what Alabama could have did with Bijan. Like, that's Texas has to make moves.
Imagine Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs next to each other. Defenses everywhere would just be sitting there like, what the hell is happening?
Here's something to think about, and I know a lot of people know it, but I don't know if they often say it. There is a very good contingency plan if they fire Sark, and that is Gary Patterson, interim head coach, immediately.
Don't get me wrong, you're certainly right. I think that's the last thing you'd want to hear, though, like, no doubt. But like, good
somebody point. With a huge amount of success in head coaching, somebody that they wouldn't even need to actually go out and search for a head coach. And so I think that the reason why, if it's not successful, you've got a guy right there that can step in and be your interim.
Austin, when you're right, you're right.
Wrong.
Yeah, when you're right, you're right. When you're right, you're right. What do I say to this, man? Like, when you're right, you're right. Mm-hmm. And Bombs, that was Nino's Sports Corner. I referenced that video ad nauseum to this day. Yep. Still reference it.
That Texas offensive line is so damn scary.
And the thing is they're only going to get better.
Yeah, they're young.
So good. What did they do? Did they start 2 true freshmen this year on the offensive line? And they it's going to be a headache. It's
Kyle Flood, guys, I tried to say this. And look, like I got it because I said that he was going to be one of the better offensive line coaches. Oklahoma has Beatonbow spoken for. We know what he does in terms of development of the offensive line.
20% of the offensive linemen in the NFL,
playoffs are from Oklahoma. Yeah. Wild. Absolutely wild. And
probably 3 are the best at their position. I saw Travis put that
We
out
are
there
the best
earlier.
at their
Probably.
position.
Creed Humphrey, Trent Williams, and Lane Johnson.
Yeah, I don't think there's any argument there. No doubt about that. But guys at the college level, Kyle Flood, whenever he went to
Child.
Texas with Sark, that's where I perked up. And I was like, oh, this is different. What he did
Texas
with that
Mysterious.
Rutgers offensive line was wild. This is a guy that if you've been following Kyle Flood, not only can he recruit, he is great at on-field results. Look, I know, and Texas started their whole, Sark recruiting era right at the beginning of the NIL era, and they have great NIL collectives. So everybody always talks about the money spent for NIL in Texas. They have a great NIL collective. It is what it is. Here's the thing, though. Right before that, I was making videos saying that he had just recruited the greatest offensive line class ever assembled to Alabama. Now, ultimately, those guys, they haven't panned out completely. I would blame more of the COVID evaluations, not being able to get guys on campus, not having clean evaluations across the board. That's not an inherent Alabama thing. That's across the board. But the guy can recruit. He then left Alabama and signed an offensive line class that one-upped the one he signed at Alabama. You want to know why? Because they came in and they're kicking ass. They're great. Hayes, thank you so much, man. That means a ton. Yeah, on the push to 20,000. That means so much for you, man.
We're on the push to 100, so
Yeah,
Hey,
we need to get you
Colorado
on here
content.
if you're ever free, Hayes. That would be amazing. Ty
absolutely.
Hayes, we could make it a whole thing, man. You let me know.
Ty Hayes and Hayes Fawcett.
Hayes and Hayes.
Hayes and Hayes. That's
hey,
a lot of
I would
Hayes.
watch that show. Hey, I would watch that show
Through the Hayes. You know what I mean?
Hey, don't get
Just a young visionary over here.
Hayes then confused.
These are on the house.
Come on.
I mean, but thank you so much, man. We really do. I'll reach out to you on Instagram or Twitter, and we'll get connected. I would love to get you on here. Guys, if you don't, go to Twitter, follow Hayes Fawcett. If you're not following him and you're into college football, I can make your quality of life in terms of college football knowledge exponentially increase. Give him a follow.
Yep.
Yeah, Nash is right, and he's not meaning this one, not this one. The other one. This guy has it on lock.
He's probably the guy that everybody wants to be if you're in the know with recruits, because the knowledge and the information that Hayes has right now is, I don't know, my head would explode.
He could be a national recruiting analyst for any of these major companies tomorrow, and nobody around the industry would bat an eyelash. I promise you this.
My head would explode if I knew what Hayes knew.
Yeah, I promise you, this guy could be a national recruiting analyst tomorrow. Nobody in the industry would bat an eyelash.
Well, and not only that, and what he knows is the work that he does with the edits, unmatched, man. Like, unbelievable.
His edits are incredible.
Y'all see how bad my thumbnails are?
Yeah,
I know. I want
me to do those bad thumbnails.
Well, the time and just the excellence he puts into it. I don't know how you have the hours in the day, man, to do it, but it's awesome.
Another
so we need to get you on a private. We need to get you on a private call so that you can teach us how to do thumbnails. That's what we need.
Dude, I might be a lost cause.
Nah,
I might be a lost cause.
Nah. Well, the Yankees hat may do you over, yeah. So
you're right. Like I said, I'm a lost cause, but I acknowledge it. It is what it is. Now, guys, we got the transfer portal is still going wild, right? This is 24/7, 365. Now, PG, you talked about Rouse being a big win for y'all. I could not agree more. We've talked about this. I made the video on it. I know that the Oklahoma offensive line looked great against Florida State. And that was a Florida State squad that had some dudes up front. But if you get the ability to increase the iron sharpens iron mantra, you do it. You want to know why? Because your competitors are going to do it. So you do it. Love that move by Brent Venables. That's a guy who can push. And PG, you made a great point. His experience is huge. But there's still a lot of big name guys in the transfer portal. There is still a lot of moves to be made, and there's still a lot of moves that have yet to be decided. We're in period 1. Once the spring comes around, oh boy, we're going to have a whole nother use of the portal. Guys, talk to me. Got playing elite better. No, Trojan. Hey, I've always said this about USC. Y'all have done great work in the transfer portal. You did great work in the transfer portal last year.
You flipped a season, 180. Absolutely.
And I didn't think
now
that
y'all just got to give your defensive coordinator a chance.
Yeah.
Like we did.
Yeah, no doubt. That was weird. I will admit that. But at the end of the day, Trojan, you as a fan of USC watched your team's fate go from being losing all of the momentum that program had worked hard to build, and now in a year, flipping it. I mean, that's great stuff. It didn't end how you wanted, but what more could you want? Great job by the USC team this year. I know that there's, the Oklahoma people, they feel some type of way, deservedly so. But I think both futures are looking very bright. But as far as the transfer portal guys, what do you think we can expect to see coming up? Because I think people are going to be shocked as to the fireworks we see in this next transfer portal window.
Yeah, I think as you start to see rosters sure up a little bit, you're going to see some probably really big names, some 5-star guys hit the portal. I think right now you're seeing a lot of teams hold out because they know it's going to get better. One of the teams that's actually surprised me the most, though, in the portal has been Nebraska. And I think they're one of the most underrated and least talked about teams because when you talk about what Matt Rule has to be able to come in there do, he's had to completely come in there and just turn over that roster and get a winning culture in there. And he got two guys in Georgia, Jacob Hood and MJ Sherman, who, I mean, those were just big time gets for them. They got Eric Gilbert at the tight end position. I love what this Nebraska team is doing in the transfer portal. But additionally, I like what Deion Sanders in Colorado's doing. So, I think there's been this thinking in this process that Deion needs to go after all of the big name recruits in the portal. Not necessarily. See, because what Brent Venables couldn't do last year in the portal was take best available or take best fit. He had to take best available because of when he came in and the portal already being open, coming in late this cycle. Deion Sanders kind of got in there right at the right time to be able to get into that portal. So now, Deion is taking best fit, not necessarily best available. And that's why you see them taking, guys that were 3 stars out of high school and things like that, right? He's not necessarily putting a lot of pressure on these kids and a lot of pressure on himself to make these 5 stars pan out. But a guy that I think everybody should be paying attention to in the portal, and I might say this wrong, Ty, you might need to help me out with the name. It's Dumais Kennedy, the former 4-star linebacker. Yeah, he's transferring out of Alabama, almost a 5-star kid. This is a guy that I think would fit a lot of schemes across the country for a lot of big teams. One of them would be Oklahoma. Another would be Colorado. Colorado is really short on the linebacker positions, and I think he's just a good dude, a guy that potentially could fit a lot of places. But yeah, Colorado and Nebraska, when I look at what those two programs were the past season and what they've done in the transfer portal, they're ready to win.
No doubt. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Drew, what are you thinking, man?
Like I said, I think it was like a week or so ago, but as crazy as this transfer portal period was, after spring football, it's going to be wild, man. And I can't wait. Nothing real specific for me, but I know a couple of our guys, no shock. A guy like Micah Bowens, stuff like that, hit the portal. You probably knew that was coming, stuff like that. David Aguayo, I think, ended up at Houston, which is a interesting landing spot for him, closer to home. He's from Katy. But yeah, the portal that's going to happen after spring football, man, I'm excited to see where guys, first of all, come in and see where they stack up on their current rosters. And then as, they see the writing on the wall or whatever the case is, maybe not a good fit there wherever they're at. But as they leave, and then you start seeing some of the talent that are late signees, if you will, and guys that are going to sign in February come in. But yeah, it's going to be a March and into summer that a lot of people, they're going to be like, oh wow, it's going to be fast and furious, and can't wait for that. So,
well, you want to know something interesting? Go ahead, PG.
I'll tell you something I'm interested to see in the transfer portal, and I'm seeing it in the chat again, guys. Enough with the Kel Gundy. It's done. It's over. Forget it. Stop talking about it. Anyways, as something that I'm interested to see with the transfer portal that we necessarily haven't seen yet, guys that commit to a class maybe don't get the looks or are unhappy with their situations going into the spring and then hit the transfer portal in the summer.
Well, that's exactly that's exactly what we're going to see.
That's kind of what I'm waiting to see. I'm waiting for that to start happening, because at that point, that's when this just becomes absolute chaos. Because you can have a guy commit to you and then be gone.
Not only that, what about the guys who are sophomores, right? They've been there, and now all of a sudden one of these early enrollees comes in and they jump them on the depth chart. Well, that sophomore might be looking at this and saying, okay, well, I'll just go elsewhere. I mean, you get a much clearer understanding of where you sit on the depth chart post spring. And that's why that portal window, that is one to watch. Now, I do want to talk about some of these teams y'all talked about. And I'd love to start with Nebraska, because PG, I completely agree. And actually, you know how shocked I am to see that Nebraska isn't even in the top 10 teams right now in terms of transfer portal acquisition ratings. And when I look at what they're getting, I love a lot of the moves they made. You know, you talked about Gilbert, PG, love that one, huge one. But then we also need to talk about Jeff Sims, the quarterback from Georgia Tech, coming in. Love that one. I'll tell you one that's not being talked about. Billy Kemp, the wide receiver from UVA. This season only put up 116 yards, but was dealing with some injuries. Guys, in 2021, he put up 725 yards. In 2020, he put up 644. In 2019, 289. But you get the picture I'm painting. This isn't just a guy who's been in college football a while. This is somebody who has reps and yards to go along with it. I love that addition. Plus, they double down and get the wide receiver from Baylor, who's an absolute track star.
Yep.
You get MJ Sherman from Georgia. You get Jacob Hood from Georgia. Love what they're doing. This is the thing right now, and this is the same thing I talk about for Colorado, and that's going to be my next stop. The name of the game right now for Matt Rule and Nebraska, for Coach Prime in Colorado, it's talent acquisition. There is no game coming on Saturday, right? You're not going to get to see that team on the field in a real setting until September. So right now, the name of the game is talent acquisition. And they're doing so masterfully. Now, PG, you called it correctly. Colorado, I love what you said. They are going after Fitz. That is 1,000% true. And I think a great name that we can really drive home here is the offensive lineman they got from Kent State. God, what's his name? Savion Washington. That's it. Savion Washington, coming from Kent State. He has an understanding of that Sean Lewis offense. That's going to help that whole team, understanding that high-paced offense. That's an example of fit. You want to know a guy, though? I'm calling it right now. I'm calling my shot in this Colorado transfer portal class. Seydou Traore.
I thought you were going to say Jordan Dominic.
The name. No. Seydou Traore. Remember the name. This kid at the tight end position, and for those of you that have been around my channel for a long time, you know I'm partial to tight ends. I think they're the biggest mismatches in college football right now and in football in general. I think they're tearing up the leagues. This kid is a mismatch. Seydou Traore, remember the name. Before I pass this off, kind of something cool. He comes from a group called PPI Recruits, led by, and I might mispronounce this, and if I do, I am so sorry, Brandon Collier, I believe is the guy's name. Another great follow on Twitter. PPI Recruits is an organization that goes around Europe, from my understanding, and goes around places not in the United States, find kids that can play football. He brings them here. Hero Canoe up at Ohio State. That's an example of a PPI recruit. The tight end, Theodore, I forget his last name for Texas A&M, the one that rose so much. That's a PPI recruit. These dudes are serious football players, man. They are dudes. Seydou Traore came as a wide receiver at 6'4" and has transitioned to tight end. He's going to be a mismatch. And especially in that Sean Lewis offense, I am excited for that. So
that's
Sean
a
Lewis
name. Offense is going to be a problem in Boulder with that altitude. People are going to get sick. It's going to be a problem.
You want to know the team I think is doing great work in the portal right now, and they haven't really gotten to play, and part of that's my fault. I have the agency to make a video on this team, and I just haven't gotten around to do it. And you know what?
Is
Maybe
it
we do that
Wisconsin?
this week. It's a good one, but no. But that is a great one. That is a great one.
Wisconsin.
Florida State, guys.
Yep.
Florida
Oh,
State
yeah.
right now sits number 2 in terms of transfer portal acquisitions. And actually, if we get super technical, they're the number 1 in average transfer portal rating with a 91.44, being headlined by Fintrell Cypress, the cornerback transfer. This is
That's
a
such a good
good
pickup.
class. Yes, it
Yep.
was. This is a very good class, one we have got to watch. Now, as far as anything else, I kind of, as we're ramping down, just general college football news, final talking points. I'll let each of you kind of say some things that have stood out to you throughout the weeks, or just talking points that we haven't gotten to this evening that you would like to hit.
You know, on staying on that Florida State theme and what they've done in the transfer portal as well. I in one of our videos, a couple videos back, we actually did our way too early top 5, and I had them in my top 5 for next year. I am excited to see what Florida State does, springboarding off of this season, and Mike Norvell and the talent that they brought in. So that's something that I'm really excited about, and they could potentially add more with this next transfer portal cycle, recruiting stuff as things shake out after the spring. And so that is a team that I'm definitely watching is Florida State, and what I've seen from them. That they could take an even bigger leap forward in the future and really go out and try to win the ACC and maybe do more. But having a veteran quarterback coming back, a good crux of your offense coming back, and then some guys on defense, and then what they've done in the transfer portal. Florida State is definitely a team that I'm watching and very intrigued by to see how they move forward, and can they add a couple more wins to the 9-10 wins they got this year.
100%. And it's interesting you talk about that. Florida State is in a position to only improve next year, which I think only increases how important it was that Dabo went out and made the aggressive hire of Garrett Riley.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at a team in Florida State where it's like, okay, well, they're getting better. Great transfer portal class. Florida is as fertile of a recruiting ground as there is. And a team in my own area is catching up with me in terms of what we can do in the ACC.
And another quick one too. Another guy that's bringing back South Carolina and what they did last year with Spencer Rattler. Another year with him and that offense and the things that they've done with their recruiting class. I think they were like top 20 this year. So another one, and Shane Beamer just got a nice raise. So the three, I guess I'll just put this 3 teams that I'm excited to watch in their years next year is Florida State, South Carolina, and Tennessee. So
great list.
Yeah.
Great list. Randy says, agree on the tight end opinion. Why more don't incorporate in the offense baffles me. You and me both. I think it's because they're still a little rare to find the exact blend of being able to block, but still being such a mismatch. I mean, don't get me wrong. You got guys that are dime a dozen that you can just set as an H-back or as a blocker, and you just set them there, and that's what they do.
Well, and Georgia has hit on it.
Georgia has gotten it right.
With versatile tight ends, they can do both. I mean, unbelievable. With Washington and Bowers is just,
You want to know when it's a problem? Guys, the cheetah position that Brent Venables has come up with, it's to stop multiple things. That's his answer to the modern tight end.
Yep.
Is the cheetah. Like
because
a
you're
hybrid.
Start seeing more and more versatile guys in that position, H-back, sniffer, whatever you want to call it, tight end role, that guys that can split out, that you don't have to. And the idea is, and I use it in a lot of my offense and stuff too. The idea is to not change personnel, to keep that guy in there that is versatile, that can split out in the slot. He can go out wide. He can stay in the box and block and slip out in the backfield. He can even tote the rock a little bit. So that's where you're trying to get to. And some of these teams and are vying for guys that are versatile like that they can keep in. And if they're running a hurry up offense, they don't have to switch personnel. They can just call the play and go.
Yeah. PG, I have a comment here, and I know who I would pick, but I want to pass it to you. Trevor says, who does OU see as the guy with speed and hands to replace Mims, who accounted for a large portion of the receiving yards the Michigan wide receiver OU got only had 2 or 3 games through 2 seasons that he had more than 1 reception. I know who I would pick, but I'll pass this one to you.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Jalil Farouk. He's still
That'd be
there.
my answer.
You get Drake. Yeah, you get Drake Stoops again. So I think the wide receiver position is in good hands. Remember, you also have 2 talented young wide receivers in Jaden Gibson and Nick Anderson as well. So, you know, I think they probably take one more wide receiver in the portal. Now, whether that
LB
is
Bunkley
right
Shelton
now,
as well.
yeah, you got LB Bunkley Shelton. Now, whether that's now or whether that's after the spring, I'm not sure. But I will think they probably take another wide receiver. And you never know. It could be a big-time wide receiver, or it could just be somebody to come help stabilize some depth. But I think if you're Oklahoma, I don't think there's necessarily a cause for concern with the wide receiver room as of yet.
Primetime just nailed it. A guy that I'm looking forward to, DJ Graham. I think he could.
I forgot about him.
Do some really good
He's
things.
just so athletic, man. He's just one of those guys where it's just like he's a football player.
Yep. And if a guy like JJ Hester stays around too, he's another one that could help out.
Yeah. I would be and this is a great question, Trevor. A great question to ask genuinely, because you are losing a big name. You know what I mean? Anybody who loses a Marvin Mims, fair question. But had Farouk not shown me what he showed me this year, I would be asking a very similar question, Trevor. But here's my thing. I think it was very obvious when we watch how Lebby used this offense that he sees something with Farouk, a way to utilize him not only as a wide receiver, but as a weapon. Travis Davidson of the Indy Sooner podcast, great podcast. We plugged up all the Texas guys, but if we're going to do that, we got to plug up Indy Sooner. Great content over there. Love when he gets on here. Love when I get over on his channel. But one of the things Travis was saying is that it almost reminded him of the way that San Francisco utilized Deebo Samuel. Yep. And that's a great point. Yep. It is a great point. Yep. Yeah. Farouk is going to have a big year. My question is what does it look like outside of him? Because Farouk can take away a lot of attention from other people. Kind of why I was a little surprised that Weiss didn't stay, but at the same time, that's almost run its course. A change of scenery might be the best situation there.
Well, and again, you have Jaden Gibson and Nick Anderson, 2 taller guys in that wide receiver room. That, Farouk's going to take some attention. They're going to gain some attention. I don't think there's going to be a lot of double teaming any wide receivers this year. You're probably going to have to
be very tough.
Coverage.
Yeah. It's going to be very tough. Yeah, I think this is a great topic to end it on. Bad look for Florida with the whole Rashada situation, huh? This is wild. I don't know, Randy, how much of my stuff you've seen. I'm very passionate about NIL in terms of like how we got here. I think it's something that's long overdue, but I also think that the NCAA has not done this in good faith. I think that the NCAA did this to try and get attention off their back. Now, that being said, focusing on the problem we have in front of us, which is the Jaden Rashada situation. We don't know what the figure was, right? To be clean, we'll refer to the millions of dollars, we'll say it's millions of dollars, as X. So for the purpose of this conversation, the monetary value will be X, and we will say X millions. It doesn't matter if it is 100,000 or X million dollars that he's signed to with this Florida collective. If you have an agreement with somebody and they make a decision based on that agreement, you pulling out, that's tough. I had a Florida fan comment on one of my videos, and he asked a fair question, a completely fair question. He said, why do you think the problem is with the Florida NIL collective when all of the players we signed, all are here, all are fine, and there's only one that is having a problem with the collective?
Yep. I was going to bring that up because I think I was on the show with you, and that's a fair point.
That's a fair question. That is a more than fair question. The answer is because first off, it's the most high value position group that you'd recruited, the quarterback by nature, and 2, it doesn't matter whether it's $13 million, $5 million, $1 million, or $50. I'll put it to you like this, guys, because it's easy for us to say, oh, well, the player, he should just take whatever's given to him. If you go for a job interview and you're already working for Dell, right, because he was committed to Miami, and let's say Microsoft comes in here and says, hey, we can get you over here. and we're going to offer you $100,000 a year over here at Microsoft. What do you say? Okay, well, you take that move to a $100,000 Microsoft deal. Well, let's now think that the second you get to Microsoft, you show up, walk through the door, and they say that $100,000, it's going to be $50,000 a year. We're slicing your pay in half before you've ever started. That would probably rub you the wrong way too.
No doubt.
I'm just going to be real about it.
Ooh.
It would rub me the wrong way. So I get it. It's not a good look. I don't think that we need to be overly critical of the Florida NIL collective because I just don't think that enough details are out there for us to be overly critical, which is why I've always said it's not a good look and left it right there. Nope. Until we know more, I don't really know what else to say.
You say it's not a good look. It could mean player or school.
True.
It's not necessarily you're pointing a finger at one or the other.
True. And with that, I'll pass it to y'all because I could.
Yeah, I 100%. I don't think I have anything to add. I'm right with you. I don't know enough in that situation to say either way because I'm not going to throw Rashada under the bus or I'm not going to throw Florida under the bus because I just don't know enough about the situation. I saw the opinions. I saw what was out there. He had the X amount, this amount, whatever the case is. But yeah, I mean, until you really know the facts or really know the exact, situation, I'm not gonna, throw somebody under the bus or say one way or another. But hey, I hope it works out for both parties or for Rashada and ends up having a great career and getting ultimately whatever he is seeking out. So
yeah, absolutely. PG, what were you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of said my piece on the whole situation. I mean, Florida got into a pissing match with Miami when it came to the recruiting trail. They lost some, they got some. Ultimately, their NIL system is just not structured. Honestly, this is kind of what I expected from Texas. Texas got their crap together. Florida did not. Florida's got money.
Texas NIL collective is really well put together. From a legal and business side, it is really well put together.
Yeah, and I think this is just a proven thing here of why schools are going to have their collectives, very well structured. Or else you're going to have problems like this. And then also, I think,
great point.
If I'm just speculating here, I think maybe. Like Rashada saw this, as an opportunity to maybe go somewhere else because, you've got DJ Lagway coming in next year. And I don't think Jaden Rashada is going to really have a chance to play over Lagway. I think Lagway is really talented. And so I think maybe with the NIL problem that fell through, he really just saw this as an opportunity to maybe go get a fresh start somewhere else and maybe not have to worry about the money. You've seen the connections to Arizona State with Kenny Dillingham, potentially taking a visit to TCU. You heard rumblings of Colorado and Deion Sanders. All of those are definitely really intriguing options because they need quarterbacks. And, Jaden Rashada could be a quarterback of the future and potentially make money at all three places at the same time. So ultimately, it's just a bad deal. And this is the reason why you have to have structure for your NIL programs and why players need representation that is either given to them by the NCAA or, if they have their own players association that they can hire attorneys that players can utilize. I think they need something like that because I believe there's lots of situations where players have gotten screwed on NIL deals and we haven't heard about it.
Yeah.
Well, Tom, I want to address because we know very little about the collectives. Temper your thoughts about them until more. I speak on the Texas one because I talk to people in the know, and I'm not a lawyer, but I did work in law firms, and so whenever they showed me, just kind of, or not showed me, they didn't. Whenever they explained to me, like, oh, well, this is how it works, and this is with the laws. The Texas one, like, it's going to be what a lot of people try and model their collectives off of. But you are correct. There's just so much unknown in this landscape. You are 1,000% correct. We still need to be wary of what we don't know. We need to be very cognizant of what we don't know.
Well, and I think that's part of it with anything that you're not sure about. You want to educate yourself and try to make the best decision possible. But a lot of times these kids, man, they're just not only getting recruited, but then figuring out what does my NIL look like? And it's all part of the game now. So it's even more, stressful for some of these guys that are just, They're marketing themselves not only on the field but in dollars now. So
Yeah. Yeah, this NIL, it's going to be wild. I always talk about it like a bell curve. You know what I mean? Like, it's new, so it's going to be exponentially higher now because people don't understand the ramifications, positive and negative.
Hey, speaking of that bell, if you guys haven't, hit the subscribe button and the bell for notifications and get this dude to 20K. Come on.
So close, but so
make it
far
happen.
away.
That is a
like
great
button
transition.
too as well. So that's a perfect segue there.
That was a perfect segue. Yeah, that was great.
Curve that bell.
Yeah. Oh, no, I see what you did there. I like that. I like that. Well, guys, unless y'all have anything to add, it's been an hour and 20 minutes that felt like it's been 20 minutes just flown through this. What are we thinking? Anything else to add?
I got to go change the heating element on my dryer, so.
Come on, man.
Jeez.
Hey, if I was a little closer to Oklahoma City, I'd come help you. I've done a few of those actually in my day, so.
This one's right in the front, so it makes it super
easy. Oh, there you go.
Nice
and easy. There you go.
Not bad. Not bad. Well, guys, we'll be back Friday, 5:30 Central Standard Time. But before we get out of here, as always, Drew, PG, plug up your show. Let the people know what they can expect to find and what they need to be excited for. I'll just start with Drew and then go PG.
Hey, we are the Under Official Review podcast, college football content all the time. Me and my buddy Zach Merrill, we talk all things college football. Lately, we've been getting into some NFL stuff. This week, we're going to do the NFC, AFC championship previews, talk some NFL stuff as well. But, guys, we need your help. We need some subscribers. We need some likes. We need some interactions over on our channel. So if you guys would, go over and subscribe to our channel, the Under Official Review podcast. I left a comment in the chat here on the way up. So you guys go find it, click on us, get us some followers, get us some subscribers. I love Ty. Every time I get to come on and talk, we're on Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. Just search us over there. And we'll be rolling out stuff each and every week. And then this offseason, a lot of recruiting and transfer portal stuff. And who knows what we'll get into, maybe a little March Madness, all that. We just love talking sports. So
absolutely. And it's always great stuff. Y'all be sure to go over there. Newer channel, but you want to get in on it while the getting's good. So you can tell everyone, I was in the first 1,000 subscribers of that channel. You always love being those people. PG, where can the people find your stuff?
Yeah, y'all can find me on YouTube, Google, Apple, or Spotify. The PG Show, all one word. You guys can also come over on Twitter and maybe argue with me a little bit. Even though I'd rather keep the arguing in the YouTube comments, you can do that over with me on Twitter at the PG Show _ as well. We do lots of
arguing in the YouTube comments.
Oh yeah. We do lots of interviews. Actually just got done with one earlier with Javonte Barnes. Hopefully maybe running back 1 next year for the University of Oklahoma. So you guys want to stay tuned for that. That one will come out on Friday. And then we got some Colorado ones coming out and maybe even some Clemson ones coming up. So
there you go. Yeah.
That'd be big. That'd be big. Well, y'all be on the lookout for that. Like I said, we'll be back Friday, 5:30 Central Standard Time. Until then, you already know I'm going to be uploading content. Be on the lookout for my channel, Drew's channel, PG's channel. We're all going to be doing content. Until then,
Boomer.
See it. Roll Tide. It's a good day. New coordinators. And now the spinning wheel of doom.